once again, guys, the wide receiver position could be an issue for Georgia in 2023. You bring in Rara Thomas, bring in Dominic, and now all of a sudden AD Mitchell's gone and Rara's career is up in the air. And we're not going to speculate. We don't know what's going to happen, so don't ask us about that. But one way or another, how much of a difference does Rara standing with the team matter for Georgia's depth? Jake, Rowe, is it a make or break deal? Let's say if he can't join the team for 2023.
I don't think it's make or break. I still think here's how much Georgia improved that wide receiver room, not just from recruiting and transfer portal, but from the 2021 class with Dylan Bell. Georgia's still in a lot better shape than they were. Because if you think about this time last year, Jermaine Burton had left. I'm sorry, Georgia fans, to bring up this really bad memory, but Stetson Bennett had decided to stay. And I know for those of you that didn't want that to happen, that's probably a painful memory right now. That's probably a really painful memory because you're getting beaten in the face with that, and you deserve it. All right. So, but
no. You know they're not saying it now.
Yeah. Stetson decided to come back. Jermaine Burton had left. You didn't know how close you came, but Darnell Washington was almost out the door. Okay, he was almost there. Amarius Mims left later, but he too was out the door. Okay, so it was bad. But you had Ladd McConkey coming back, but you didn't know Ladd. You didn't necessarily know Ladd was an 800, 900 total yard guy. You knew what you had in Brock Bowers. No Dominic Lovett. You had AD Mitchell, which you felt good about, but you didn't. Marcus Rosenby-Jackson hadn't done anything really to that point. You didn't really feel confident in him coming back. I think Georgia's still in a lot better shape. And
the class last year did not stack up to this.
Very, very true. Good point. Good point, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, Bell was a great find, and I mean, it certainly has panned out for him. But outside of him, I mean, your top-ranked guy on the wide receiver core was Denylon Morissette, number 203 in the nation at the time, and finished that way. So it wasn't like you had a lot of guys. I mean, outside of Bell, there were no real contributors out of that freshman class either. I think that's not going to be the case personally this year. I think that some of these guys can step in and potentially play a role early.
And it really all depends. You've got the Williams kid that is, I mean, obviously size, speed, basketball, raw football ability. But the guy I kind of keep hearing a little bit more, and I'll share that. I mean, this is for the YouTube audience first because I keep hearing about Yaz Haynes. Yep. I mean, Yazeed Haynes. I mean, I keep hearing kind of just like little tidbits of different things that make me think because over the years, you hear about, oh, well, so-and-so showed up, and, man, he's a lot more athletic than we thought. That goes in one ear and out the other. And as big as my head is, that takes 30 seconds.
Let me ask you about Haynes. Yeah, that is a sizable distance.
Yeah, it is. 100%.
Kilometers or miles. Is Haynes a fair comparison? Would you compare him? Is he similar to AD?
No, I would say he's another guy that I would classify in two letters, and that's TK. I think he's more Tavares King than anything else.
I was team TK. I'm still team TK.
Yeah, me too, dude. Tavares King. I hope he's listening to this because one of the things that I've always thought about TK is one of his press conferences, one of his media availabilities before he left, he talked about the receiving core in 2013. He said, "Hey, listen. The only thing they're going to be missing next year is a pretty face because they were losing him." So I love that comment. Roos knows a guy that we used to work at Clark Central, a guy named Aaron Self. He was the defensive coordinator at Clark Central, and they played Hab Central. And I remember him coming in because I worked at Clark Central for a year, and he told me that dude right there, because we were talking about him going into the game. I used to see Aaron Self every day. And he eventually became the head coach at Clark Central. He had worked at the Citadel. And we were talking about TK, and he told me going into the game like the Wednesday before, he goes, I think we got him. And then he saw me on Monday, and the first thing he said from like 100 feet away was like, "We didn't have him." Okay. And that's the first thing he said. Good dude. Love that guy. But also Tavares King, I believe, has 2 of the best 6 or 7, maybe 8 receiving seasons in Georgia history. You want to look at that 2012 game and, Georgia having a chance to beat Alabama and Chris Conley dropping that pass. TK made massive plays in that football game. I can't remember what his, but I do believe Yazeed Haynes kind of reminds me of him. Now, I don't know competition level, whatever, but when you hear about a guy being fast or twitchy or playmaking 7-on-7, I don't know. You hear it so many times it kind of goes in one ear and out the other. But when you start hearing about a guy talking about like he's businesslike, he's serious, he talks to people, he does this, those are the kind of things you're hearing about Yazeed Haynes. And I heard those same things about Nakobe Dean right away, Michael Williams right away. He has that kind of seriousness and intentional quality about the way he goes about the game that makes me think he's got a chance to be a really good player.
Yeah, here's a take from Jarvis Browner in our comments. The loss of Rara Thomas is not that significant at all. Trust me. I don't think Georgia's coaching staff feels that way because they definitely wanted him really, really bad out of the portal, but that doesn't mean that the depth isn't there to overtake him and make the loss sting a little bit if he is indeed lost. I mean, we don't know that that's going to happen yet. So we want to be clear about that. We don't know. Georgia hasn't decided anything yet. They're going to do their due diligence and run through all the facts, and you can read the report over at DawgsHQ.com. And I'm sure you've probably already made up your mind on what's going to happen, but we will see. There hasn't been anything decided yet.